This video is brought to you by Sailrite. Visit sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions.
These are all examples of the boxed corner cushion, the 30-minute cushion, if it's a small cushion, not if it's a big cushion. And you can see that if you use a single piece of fabric, you can actually have the fabric wrap around, and it's a totally flippable cushion with the zipper in the back here. So there is no seam here, and there's no seam in the middle. Same with this one. This one has, this is the front of the cushion, so the fabric wraps around to the back side, and the back side has the zipper in it. This goes in a sofa. Now for the one underneath, this one is a very large cushion, and we used a 54-inch wide fabric, so the seam in this one runs down the middle of the front. And if you flip this one around, the zipper runs down the back side of this cushion. And this video is going to show you how to join panels together and what our preferences are for the best looking cushion when you have to join panels together for super large cushions. If you have a very large cushion like this one, 30 by 79 by 4, sometimes you'll require panels to be sewn together. Here you can see it says in the key dimensions, the first line, 2 fabric panels will be sewn together side by side. Yours may say more if your cushion's even larger. For large cushions, 2 or more panels may need to be sewn together, and you can place the seam where you like. We prefer the seam to be in the front of the cushion. Let's scroll down to the panel rendition down here. The red at the top and the bottom is our zipper, or the back of the cushion. The black line in the middle is our seam line. And I don't want the seam line to run down the middle of the cushion. I actually want it to run from center notch here and center notch there. So to do that, I'll scroll back up, and at the orientation here, I will switch it from width to length. So I'll click on length. Now I'll click calculate. And if you scroll down to the panel rendition again here, you can see that the black line is still going up and down, but the center notches are at the top, or it intersects the middle of the center notches. And the zippers, shown in red, are now on the left side and right side. So this will be the back side of the cushion. So that seam line in black is now in the front of our cushion. So the black seam on the fabric calculator will run from center notch to center notch. However, you may prefer to place the seam in the middle of the cushion. It is your preference of where you want that seam to go. We prefer it in the front, but you can play with the orientation buttons, the length and the width button, and then scroll down and look at the panel rendition to see what works best for your fabric and your application.
How should fabric be joined together for cushions? We're going to discuss that next.
So I have my 2 panels already cut to the perfect size, and we need the outside surfaces, this is the outside surface and this is the outside surface, to be facing each other and directly on top of each other. So I'm going to take this panel and flip it over so that these edges are lined up. Okay, panels are lined up. Notice they're even here and it's even here. We're going to use some straight pins once it's lined up down the length, and put them about every foot or so apart to hold these panels together as we take it to the sewing machine and sew.
In lieu of these multi-use pins, you could use the seam stick basting tape for canvas and baste the panels.
Okay, so we left the selvage edge on the fabric, which means we need to make sure that we sew into the good fabric, which for us is a 3/4 inch. Now we could always cut this off if you want to and then sew a 1/2 inch, but as long as you sew well within the selvage edge, you'll be okay. So I'm going to put my magnetic guide on 3/4 on the needle plate. I'm going to sew a straight stitch, and I'm going to go maximum stitch length of about 6 millimeters. All right, so we're going to start here at the beginning, and we want to do a little bit of reversing to lock our stitch in place. And then we'll just sew with the selvage edge right up against the deluxe 5.5 inch magnetic guide.
If you opted to use the seam stick rather than the multi-use pins to baste these panels together, just make sure you don't sew into the double-sided tape, because when the panels are splayed out, you would be able to see the glue.
Then when you get to the end, do some reversing. So our 2 panels are sewn together. And we only do one stitch just like that. Then we open it up and we inspect our work. And there we go. This will be the front side of the cushion.
Now for this very large cushion, our fabric is big enough to create the boxed corner cushion.
This panel is still too big, so what we have to do is we have to look at the next line down. Cut size of fabric 67.44 inches by 83.55 inches. And the 83.55 side runs along the running length of the fabric. It will be the zipper opening, the backside of the cushion. So you can always refer to this text to make sure that your orientation is correct as well. But the next task for us is to cut it to that size. So as we cut everything to size, we must also make sure that everything is square. That's why I'm going to be using this L square to make sure that sides are perfectly square. And we can trim them up if they're not. So here again, we're talking about one more thing. This is the seam in the center. And my overall width needs to be 67.44, so I'm going to divide that by 2. 67.44 divided by 2 means 33.72 from this seam. I need to mark the fabric here, and then from that seam again, 33.72. So we're basically splitting the difference. So the seam is the exact center of the, in this situation, the width of the fabric. This is the brand new Sailrite Edge cordless hot knife. There's a button here to push for safety and then hit the trigger, 3 seconds, and you're ready to cut. This is an awesome hot knife, and I'm cutting on the tempered cutting glass. So now you have two choices, a corded hot knife and a cordless hot knife.
We've been working to produce this hot knife for over a year, and it is great.
So the center notches you can see here with the seam in the middle of them. So the center notches are going to be cut out of here, as you can see it here and here. Now that we've joined the fabric together with a seam, it's time to go back to the previous video by clicking the icon here at the top right. And you'll want to start on the chapter called Cutting Corner Notches.
Click on the icon at the top right corner to go directly to that chapter.